All right, welcome to the Credit Union Championship show. Joining me for the girls' side of the Credit Union Championships preview is Coach Stephen Lenz. He is the head coach of Barrington, and he is the president of Rhode Island Girls Coaching Association. First of all, Coach, how are you today?
Great, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I've heard a lot of good things about you guys and your podcast. I first heard you guys back when you had a buddy of mine, Corey Downey, on from Cheerio a couple years back. He was an assistant coach to me, and then he went on to coach Cheerio, win the D3 title. So I'm not a big tech guy, but I did listen to that podcast with Corey, so I'm excited to be here. He loves you guys. He said you're great guys, so I feel comfortable being here. I'm ready to go.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And, this is going to be a lot of fun. We'll have a good time with it. For those who know, Ramon will be joining me later. But we'll get right into this. But before we begin, Coach, we got some interesting news before we go even into the breakdowns that both, there were some changes to the tournament on Monday that they were expanding the tournament to a 12-team tournament for both girls and boys. What are your thoughts on this expansion?
So listen, I understand that the expansion came out of equity issues because of hockey. They had to do some expansions with hockey. And I think it's anytime we can get more teams to be able to continue to participate in sports, particularly in the type of year that we've had dealing with COVID, I don't think that that's a negative thing. And when you think about the preliminary rounds, every division was going to have preliminary rounds anyway. It does lessen the number of buys, but it does give more teams an opportunity to play. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think some people get worked up about the fact that things change, and we had hard and fast, regulations for who was going to get in at the beginning of the year. But let's think about the last year, and let's think about how flexible we've had to be with everything that's going on. And I just hope that I get to play my first playoff game. So that's just where my tunnel vision is now. And I think a lot of other teams feel the same way, one game at a time.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's been a weird year, and and it's just everyone's been doing a great job with it and working through it. And like you said, you got to focus on your team and just hopefully you get to the next round, because you don't know with anything with this is what's happening on the COVID side. It's crazy.
Yeah, and think about where we were 2.5 months ago, with the potential that we weren't even going to play basketball, right? Yeah. And I know everybody's so wound up about the playoffs now. We made it, and that's great. But, we are still also dealing with the issues of the pandemic, and they're going to continue to resonate. So, it's good to keep things into perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're just happy that we have more basketball. I'm always excited that there's more teams, more basketball. So that always makes a great tournament. It makes it a lot more fun, I think, and for me as a watcher on the other side. But let's get into the Credit Union Championships preview. Let's go right into D3. Just a quick note for D3, and correct me, Coach, if I get this wrong, that the 1 and 2 seed of both North and South get buys. Winner versus 4 North versus 5 South gets the number 1 seed of South, and then vice versa. And then the winner of 3 North versus 6 South gets the 2 South, and vice versa. Did I get that right?
Yeah, they're calling it South or Central. It's hard to even keep track of the divisions now. But I think the main point that you're making is, particularly in these preliminary rounds, you're going to see teams play each other that haven't played each other before.
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty exciting.
Yes, definitely. That's very, very exciting. And we'll go right into our first one. And I'm just going to say the names. I'm not even going to announce, but we're going to go with the 4 seed of Black Island versus the 5 seed and Davies. Black Island comes to this when they play their last game on February 12th in a non-league game. Against Mount St. Charles. And then and Davies comes to this matchup winning 3 games in a row back in mid-February to help make their case to make the playoffs. What are your thoughts on these 2 teams, Coach?
Yeah, so Davies is playing pretty good basketball right now, and they're led by the Howard girl and Shanae Robertson, and there's only a game separating the two in terms of the record. So I think it's probably going to be a pretty tight game. I'm not going to make any predictions, but what I will say about Davies and Joe Handy, he's been around for a long time. and he usually shows up big in playoff games in terms of getting his team ready. So I think that'll be like the classic 4-5 grudge match. It'll be a tight game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And then their potential matchup in the next round for either team, they'll end up facing North Smithfield. North Smithfield only one loss on the season. What are your thoughts?
Coach Stanton's a really good coach, and she's done a great job this year. I mean, listen, they've lost one game, right? And that game, I believe that game was the first game of the season, and it was against Woonsocket, okay, who only has one loss on the season, and I think they lost by 3 points. So, their first loss was a long time ago, and I think they're going to be a formidable opponent for whoever comes out of that 4-5 matchup.
That's great. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between, who goes on to face North Smithfield. For the next game, it was Mount St. Charles, but they have a bye in this one, so they will actually move on and face Mount Pleasant. And we can just give some quick insight on that as well, too. Mount St. Charles is 6-2. They're one of the top 3 teams in D3. And then Mount Pleasant has some great players, too, has a great team as well, too. What are you looking forward to with these two really playing against each other?
It's interesting because you're right. Mount St. Charles was supposed to have a game, I believe, against Hope, but they were with the expansion. I think they had kids that had already moved on, so they didn't have enough kids to play the game. So, they move on to play a Mount Pleasant team, which I believe Mount Pleasant won the D3 title last year. So they have some serious playoff experience. Zach has been here before. Zach Pinto, the head coach, and so he'll be prepared for a very well coached team in Mount St. Charles. Mount St. Charles seems to have 3 great scorers on their team, and I think Mount Pleasant matches that with a couple strong scorers as well. So I think they both have kind of a power 3. So I think that's again, I think you're going to see another close matchup there between two lost teams that haven't played each other, right? And then you also take a look at Mount Pleasant. I mean, their only 2 losses are to Mount Hope, they're undefeated, and to North Smithfield by 2. So, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one.
That's going to be a good one. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. I think it's going to be a good game. Mount Pleasant sounds like, a very tough team, winning it last year, and hopefully, maybe to repeat, but who knows? I mean, it's going to be two really good teams like you'd mentioned before.
Yeah. I know Zach would love to repeat, particularly coming out as a 4 seed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I know he's pumped. He's ready to go.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. And then we'll go to our 3 seed Tolgate versus 6 seed Central Falls. Tolgate is 3-4 on the year. They get the 3 seed. They won 3 of the 4 in the month of February, and then Central Falls comes into the game, wins some big games over Blackstone Valley Prep and Lincoln to help guarantee their playoff spots. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
So my thoughts on this are right. Central Falls was a desperate team. They had to win a couple games down the stretch in order to get in the playoffs. And I know that Tolgate's on a hot streak because they've won 3 out of their last 4. So you take a team that's on a hot streak, and then you take a team that was fighting for desperation to get in, and it really could go either way.
It's going to be interesting. And they go up against their potential next matchup for either one will be a number 2 seed Woonsocket, which, who actually recently you mentioned beat the number 1 seed North Smithfield. What are your thoughts on Woonsocket and, them being a 2 seed?
Yeah. And I think Woonsocket has demonstrated being a strong a strong team since the beginning of the season. Dan's done a good job over there. And they've kind of run the table here, except for their matchup against Mount Hope, which they only lost that game by 1 point. And when you look kind of down the stretch here, right at what could be potentially, a matchup between Woonsocket and Mount Hope, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you're looking at kind of a rematch between 2 teams that only lost, Mount Hope only beat them by 1. So, I mean, I'm not going to overlook Lincoln or the Lincoln school. But if you were to go by seeds only, that could be a very interesting matchup in the Final Four.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. And then you had mentioned we have the number 4 Lincoln versus number 5, Lincoln. Is the Lincoln schools?
Yeah, it's a Lincoln school in Providence. Yep. Yeah.
Okay, that's and then it's a rivalry matchup. Lincoln versus Lincoln here on this one. So Lincoln of the North looks to continue their 3-game win streak over, and then they play Lincoln South. Looks like they get a critical win to help them advance. What do you think about the matchup of the Lincolns?
Yeah, I think. Listen, you've got a team that's proven themselves five times. Okay, in Lincoln, they got 5 wins, and they're playing the Lincoln School, which I remember the Lincoln School 2 years ago was in Division I. Okay, and I think they only won 1 game that year. Okay, and they battled for 32 minutes. Wow. So you may see a Lincoln team from the public school Lincoln team win the game, but the Lincoln School in Providence is going to give them fits. So that's kind of my prediction right there. Now, see what you got me now making predictions.
No, don't make predictions. We don't need anyone to email you. We don't. Yeah, this is stuff I've already said. I was like, I don't need any more DMs. I don't need people to email me and be like, why'd you way to pick us? No predictions, coach. We gotta save you.
No predictions.
No predictions. And then
it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, good matchup. We're just going to talk about the insights of the matchup. And then the matchup with, and then they have a potential matchup. One of the Lincolns have the potential matchup with Mount Hope. And, Mount Hope is undefeated. They won the league, and they look like just a great team. What are your thoughts on Mount Hope?
So, my feelings about Mount Hope is that they have some pretty strong guard play. We actually played them in a, kind of a non-league scrimmage in the beginning of the season this year. And I remember going over to Caitlin Booth at the end of the scrimmage and saying to her, hey, listen, you guys are going to have a good season. We gave them a run for their money, but they have some good guard play, and they were a very physical team. And I knew that would take them a long way. So I like their chances there to get into the Final Four.
Yeah, they look like they have a good squad. It looks like a young squad. They're led by a freshman and a sophomore, Abigail Rizzoni. Please forgive me.
Yes.
If I pronounce it wrong. And freshman Elisa White. Looks like the two of them have been playing good ball for Mount Hope and help being 2 top scorers for that team.
Yeah. Hey, and listen, 7-0 undefeated. That's a pretty good record if you ask me.
Yeah, just pretty good. Pretty good. I would take it.
Yep.
All right, and now let's get into D2, Coach. We'll do some D2. Into D2. D2 is the same as we mentioned before with D3, where the 1 and the 2 seeds of both North and South get buys. Winner of 4 North versus 5 South gets to play the winner. Gets to play the winner gets to play the 1 South and vice versa, and the winner of 3 North versus 6 South gets to play the winner of 2 South and vice versa there. So let's get right into it. We got number 4, Narragansett versus number 5, Smithfield. Narragansett comes in this one beating EP and winning 2 out of the last 3 games. And while Smithfield has been they're led by Kate Labassiere, has been a factor for them, average 17 points for Smithfield. What are your thoughts on Narragansett versus Smithfield?
So again, you got this 4-5 matchup of teams that haven't played each other before, and you actually have a Smithfield team that was in Division I last year, okay, and is now in Division II, and like you said, is led by Kate, and she's a great player. Narragansett's going to have to take her out of the game, okay, because she's an incredible slasher, and she's very aggressive, going to the basket, great on both sides of the floor. And I think when you look over at Narragansett, you kind of have the battle of the guards here, right, with Leah Hart, right, because she's another great player as well. And what's interesting is they're both seniors, right, and so that's what happens in the playoffs, right? Seniors, they sense the end coming and they step up. And so seeing those 2 guards, I would expect those 2 guards to cover each other when they are playing man. Seeing those 2 guards kind of go at it with each other will be a treat for people who are watching it on the on the NFH network or wherever it's being broadcast there.
That's very it'd be a good matchup with 2 senior guards going at it. You can't ask anything better than that. And then you have their next potential matchup, which is going to be Classical in the next round. What are your thoughts about one of those teams going against Classical?
Yeah, so look, you got obviously a very good Classical team. Anthony's done a good job with them. Anytime you can be undefeated, kind of run the gamut there. That's a success. And I think Classical has been here before. They won the D2 title a couple of years ago. They actually, they were placed in Division I this year, but they opted down because some other teams wanted to come up. And I think they would have competed in Division I this year as well. So I think they're going to be tough to take down no matter who's playing them. They've got a lot of length and size. They're incredibly athletic. They're a great rebounding team. So it's going to be interesting. Whoever comes out of that Narragansett Smithfield game is going to have their handful. But hey, that's why we play the games, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Let's go to West Warwick versus Prout. West Warwick is a tough team this year. They're 7-2 on the season. They've been playing good defense on the season as well. And they come in and play. They come up against the matchup against Prout, which was a tough decision of how Prout was going to get in with all the ties. So, what do you think about this matchup, West Warwick versus Prout?
Yeah, I think the first thing I just want to acknowledge quickly is you had a Middletown team that was 3-6, Prout team that was 3-6, Shade team that was 3-6, and EP team that was 3-6, and so you had to use various tiebreakers within the pool against pool play to get to the point where Prout made the playoffs, and they should be proud of that. But I just want to acknowledge those other three teams and their seniors particularly because that's difficult. It's been a difficult year. And we had to use the tiebreakers to come to a decision. That's why they have the tiebreakers. But I just wanted to give those other three teams, Middletown, Shea, and EP, some credit for having a great year. And also just comment on the fact that I've played Prout pretty much every year of the last 10 years, except for this year. And they're always an incredibly aggressive team. They're a great defensive team, and then you're coming up against a 7-2 Warwick team, who, their only two losses are to Classical, who's undefeated, and to Ponagansett, who's 8-1. And I think West Warwick, from what I've heard, they're a great shooting team. I haven't seen them play, but I know Steve Lawton does a great job coaching them. So I think both teams will be prepared to take each other on there.
That'll be very, very interesting to see what happens, and a good shout out for those those other teams that you mentioned. Unfortunately, just for the tiebreaker, and it's been a weird year overall. But no faults on them. You can't control the issue with the pandemic, everything that's going on. But these two teams have a potential matchup in the next round with Rogers. What are your thoughts again with one of these teams playing against a Rogers team?
So this is what I'm going to tell you about a Rogers team. Okay, Frank Brow, the head coach, right? Guy can flat out just coach, flat out coach. Okay. I've battled with him back and forth when we were in Division II. Every year we play non-league game. Last year he took a bunch of freshmen, okay, and played in Division I, and you saw them get better every single game. I think they had 5-6 wins last year in D1, and he's got those super sophomores now, okay, led by the point guard there, Cindy Newsom, okay, and then he's got the excellent post player, Maeve Crowley. So I'm sure that West Warwick or Prout will be ready to play them. Okay, you're gonna have to put your best coaching hat on because Frank, I'm telling you, man, the guy knows the game. Whenever I play, I don't care. Over the years, every time I got to play them, I get nervous. Right? Because the thing about Frank doesn't care about mixing things up. Right? He'll come out with a plan and then he'll see what's happening and just completely change all of it. Okay, to take away what the team's doing well. And I think that's his strength to see that and to change. And let's keep in mind, right? Rogers' only loss is to Westerly. Westerly's 9-0, and that was a 3-point game. Okay, maybe 4-point game. So that's going to be a tough matchup. Whoever's taking on Rogers. That's
really interesting. It must be something in the Rogers coaching, like the water over there, because Coach Saris is another great coach that I used to coach at Rogers too. So there must be something over there in the water fountains or something. I got to go over there and drink some water. If there's some
there you go. No, yeah, I agree.
Let's go to our next matchup is Tiverton versus Cumberland. Tiverton comes into the playoffs on a 2-game winning streak and winning 6 games in the month of February. and looking to continue that streak against Cumberland, who is the 6th seed here, and they are led by 1,000-point scorer Maddie Zakan. Coach, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Maddie's she's a great player. And congratulations to her. On getting that 1,000th point. That's a great accomplishment. I remember when she was a freshman. Okay, Cumberland was playing in Division One, and congratulations to her and to the Tiverton team. Who's had a great year. So you look at Tiverton. They lost to Westerly, and I'm not sure who their second loss was. But this is the one thing I know about Tiverton. I remember playing them Division II East. Okay, it used to be like the Big East. It was like Middletown, Portsmouth, East Providence, okay, and Tiverton. We used to just battle each other, in the early 2000s. Tiverton is always going to be a tough, scrappy team. Okay, and I wouldn't expect anything different when Cumberland comes into town. And but let's remember, George Codera, the coach of Cumberland, he led Woonsocket to a Division I title, 8-9 years ago. And I remember that because I lost to him. So that should be an interesting matchup. And then you look at, sorry, I'm getting ahead of you here, looking at the Pontigansett.
No, go ahead. You take it away.
The Pontigansett matchup there. Then you have a Pontigansett team that, and you remember, right? Pontigansett back in the day, rattling off championship after championship. And they went a little low there for a while, but they've always been incredibly well coached and competitive. And Gary Martinelli's done a great job over the last 3-4 years building that program up to where they are now. And he's got a nice, young, talented team. They're going to be a good team for the next several years. It's not just this year. So it'll be interesting to see, whether it's Tiverton or Cumberland, how they approach that Pontigansett team, because they've got size and they've got speed. And let me tell you, I went down to Pontigansett, right? And I always get Gary to come up and play me in the non-league games because I don't want to drive down there. Right? But we drove down there last year, and I promised him we'll come down and play it, and they just kicked our butt. Okay, and he's got most of the same team back this year, and very well coached. So that'll be an interesting matchup in the second round.
Man, that would definitely be very exciting. It sounds like an awesome matchup. Very looking forward to that one.
And when you look at Division II, right? If you look at the top 4 seeds, if they move on, Classical, Rogers, Westerly, and Pontigansett, you're looking at 2 losses between the 4 of them.
That's crazy.
Right? So those are going to be some very interesting games there in the Final Four if they happen.
Yeah.
If they happen.
If they happen, yes. If they happen, we have to clarify if that happens. But that would be very interesting. 2 losses between 4 teams that's wild, and that means to tell you how strong those top 4 seeds are. But we'll go into the last game of the 2 for the prelims is Currencies versus Cheerio. Currencies has been a great team this year. They have 3 players who could score between Catherine Hernandez, Chloe Kitterick, and Bethany Jean Philippe. While Cheerio can shoot the ball, they shoot the 3 ball very well. I watched them play against Johnson the other night, and they were shooting I think Spencer Shields, she hit a bunch of 3s against them, and they come into this game winning 2 games in a row for league play. What are your thoughts on this game, Coach?
Well, again, right? You have Spencer, right, senior, okay, and a great shooter, okay, and I think someone that's going to step up big for them, win or lose against a Cranston East team that really has battled back over the last couple of years and rebuilt that program. Okay, they should be very proud of themselves. That 5-4 record. I haven't seen them play this year, but as you pointed out, they got some strong players, and I think you're looking again at another 5-4 matchup with 2 teams that aren't familiar with each other. So you're going to see the first half kind of them trying to figure each other out. Probably be very close, and then it'll come down to listen, you got to make stops and make shots to win the game. So we'll see who can do that coming down the stretch. But don't be surprised if the senior doesn't step up there for Cheerio.
It'd be very interesting. Hopefully we'll see what happens there. I mean, I know Coach Diggs is doing a great job over at Cranston East, and I saw Spencer Shields. She shot the lights out on the Johnson game, and I can't remember her 3-pointers that she had, but she was shooting the ball very well. But any potential matchup for these teams will potentially go on to play against Westerly, who you had mentioned is undefeated this year. So what are your thoughts about
Yeah,
Westerly?
and again, congratulations to Sue Higgs. She's done a great job with Westerly, and right. No one wants to play Westerly because they don't want to travel, right? Got to go all the way down there. So
I
they're
live in
always there.
Westerly. That's right.
Oh, you live down there?
Yeah, I live in Westerly. That's where I live.
Let me tell you something. It's
And
beautiful.
Coach Hake's my cousin. Coach Hake's my cousin.
It's beautiful down there, right? So they're the poor Westerly always has to go to all their non-league games. They got to travel.
Yeah.
Right? So good for them because they get to host a couple home playoff games. Unfortunately, the Dog Pound won't be able to show up because there won't be any fans.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll be watching virtually. And listen, this is like the Westerly teams of old, right? Okay, they're just going to take it to you physically, right? They're an incredibly good defensive team, okay, and they make their way offensively by pushing the basketball, okay, and they just grind you down physically. So whoever's going to try to knock off Westerly is going to have to literally knock them off and be very physical because they're going to have to match their defensive intensity because that's what they're all about. Their defense is their offense. So
yeah, be very interesting. And yeah, Coach Hake is actually my cousin and from Wesley. So
yeah, she's great. And you know what? Her players take on her intensity. That's where they get it from, right? They get it from her out there on the court. I mean, man, we've had some battles down in Westerly. When Holly was there, Misto, and then Sue took over. Yeah. I mean, we went undefeated one year, and then we played them in the championship, and they just blew us out in the semifinals.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
But that's our end of our D2, and then we're gonna go right into D1. The playoffs are set up like this for D1. There's 3 different leagues. And each of those leagues, your seeding is determined by where you finished in that league. So if you finished 1 in North, Central, or South, based on your winning percentage determines what seed you get. So you could get the 1, 2, or 3 seed depending on your winning percentage and where you finish. When you finish 1 in your league, and then so on by your league percentage. So, Coach, I mean, first of all, congratulations to your team on getting the 2 seed on this one. We won't ask any predictions on your side, but congratulations on that one. But we'll get into the 8-9 matchup of 8 North Kingston versus 9 St. Mary's, a rematch. I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts about these 2 teams?
So, taking a look at these 2 games, first of all, you got to give Chris Keller some credit, okay, over at Bayview. He was actually one of my assistants a couple years ago. He's done a great job with the program and also with the adversity that they faced this year. I mean, they were quarantined for 2 weeks, and then they had to make up a kabillion games in the last 10 days. So I give them a lot of credit. Listen, Bayview's dangerous, man. We were playing them. We were down 7 at the half, and we gutted it out in the last couple minutes. They've got very strong guard play from Valley and Benway, and then they also have they got Baptiste in the middle there, who's a very strong post player. And then you look over and you look at North Kingstown, and nobody's played a harder schedule than North Kingstown this year. I mean, they've played every top team, and you can't be deceived by that 4-5 record. Because you look at the 5 teams that they lost to, and those are some of the top seeds in Division I right now. And Bob's done a great job with his team. And listen, you got to be worried about North Kingstown in their transition game and their ability to pressure the ball. And Jillian Rogers, sophomore, she's kind of like a flex player. She can play guard and post. She's very difficult. And same with Jordan Moreau. I mean, he's got a very good team. So, I think they played last week, and I think North Kingstown, I think beat them by 10 or 12 or something like that. But, I think playing a team a second time and beating them by that much is a tough task. So I think it'll be a very interesting game to watch.
Definitely. And then the winner of this one goes on to face St. Ray's. What are your thoughts about any of these teams going against a St. Ray's team?
Well, St. Ray's, I mean, Tammy's done a great job with them, and let's not forget what happened to St. Ray's last year, right? They weren't able to participate and finish in the divisionals, and then the open tournament was a no-go. And so for those kids, you want to talk about a team that's playing hungry right now, right? It's St. Ray's, and Tammy's done a great job, Tammy Drape with them, and I think when you look at St. Ray's, okay, Of course, they have Amaya Dowdy, who's an incredible player, first team All-State player. She should be up for Gatorade Player of the Year. They've also got incredible role players, with Chloe Rako, who can you can't give her an inch, man. She will nail the three wherever she is. Okay, and they've also got the Bruno, who's their point guard, who's a very athletic player. I think she's a lefty. And then they've got incredible length as a team, and so that's what makes them so difficult, right? They come out and they press, and then they get in that 3-2, and it's arms everywhere. Okay, and so listen, whoever comes out of that bracket, NK and Bayview, it's Division I basketball. They'll be ready to take on St. Ray's, and it's going to be a very, very good game.
I'm very excited. It sounds like, St. Ray's is a tough team. And like you said, they're hungry. That stinks about what happened to them last year. It's going to be a very interesting, matchup, whoever goes on to play against St. Ray's. For our next matchup, we have Scituate versus Johnston. It's a rematch from the first game of the season. Scituate was able to best Johnston in this one. Scituate is led by freshman Armani Rivera, who averages 13 points per game. And Johnston looks to get revenge in this one. They're led by Tori Vio and Abby Celeste, who can shoot the ball. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, and don't forget Sarah Bandama. She's about 6'4".
Yeah.
I think she's going on to play Division I basketball next year. So you've got Scituate, you've got Johnson, who's got incredible size, okay, and a second-year coach with Megan Reel, who's ready to go. And they've got some shooters as well. And I think that, then you got a Scituate team that is loves to run, okay, and shoot the three ball. I did not play Johnston this year, but we did play Scituate. And let me tell you, man, the Olsen girl, she comes through the double screen off the 3-point line and would just drill threes. And then, they've got the excellent point guard as well that you just mentioned. And Frank's a very good coach, Frank Kaiser. So, you're looking at a battle of size over speed. We'll see who wins.
Definitely. Well, that'll be an interesting matchup for sure. And the winner of this game will go on to play Wheeler. What are your thoughts on, Wheeler and this potential matchup?
Wheeler just gives team fits. They give you fits, and they give you fits because they've got two players. Kate Keenan is one of them, and Mia Mancini, and they're not hard to forget because Mia's number 2 and Kate's number 3, and they both of them are like Energizer bunnies on both sides of the floor. They never stop. Okay, they shoot threes, they go to the basket, and they got some great complementary players, in particularly in Lily Rothier, who's had a great season. They've got some size, and let me tell you what Wheeler has. Their secret weapon. They've got Steph Coro, okay, first-year coach, okay, who's just does a phenomenal job coaching. We played them earlier this year. It was a great game, and I won't tell you what her strategy was against us because I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
Okay? But she had me confused for a while there, probably the whole second quarter, about what they were doing defensively. She was a great player over at North Providence, then went on to play at Rick and overseas. And so you have a combination of those two guards and some role players and some great coaching. Okay? And you've got a formidable 4 opponent, whether it's Scituate or Johnston coming out of that game. That's going to be a battle.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. It sounds like a good matchup. It sounds like Wheeler's a tough team. Now we're going to go on to Cranston West versus Portsmouth. Cranston West comes into this one 5-1 at home, and Portsmouth is 3-6 on the season. And Cranston West looking to bounce back after a tough loss to NK, and Portsmouth looking to make an upset here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so let me tell you again, okay. Portsmouth. I think Portsmouth's 3-6. Okay, you can't be deceived by that.
Yeah,
they gave us for a run for their money. They just gave LaSalle a run for their money the other day. They got 2 great seniors. Emily Calici, she's another one, man. You can't give her an inch. She'll just drain the threes. Okay, and then Grace Gismondi, who's a great kind of can handle the ball but can work inside and out. And then they got some younger kids that have really started stepping up as the season has gone on. So they play that, really good man D, great 3-2 defense. And then you got Cranston West. PJ's done a great job with them. And I think the biggest thing with Cranston West is, you've got to be able to match Cranston West's physicality, right? Because they're a very physical team. We just played them the other night, okay? And you got to take away their threes, okay? They're a very good three-point shooting team. PJ's done a great job with them, and they have depth, okay? So they got some – he's going to play 12, 13 players, okay? And Portsmouth has some depth as well. So that's going to be a really tight game, right? That's going to be a really interesting matchup in the first round. I'm looking forward to watching that game.
That sounds like a really good matchup. Two deep teams playing against each other. And then the winner of this game goes on to move on to South Kingston. What are your thoughts about South Kingston and thoughts on them?
South Kingston, man. They're just every year long, quick, athletic, right? Long, quick, and athletic and deep, right? Every time you look out on the court and you're like, they all look the same. They can all shoot, they can all play defense, and they can all run. But there is one really big distinguishing player, and that's the junior guard, Jamie Hill. I mean, she's an outstanding player. And then she's got her sister out there as a freshman. How do you stop that that family connection, right? It's like, I mean, and they just run, right? They run. And you got Vesterholm's sister out there. She was a force last year, and then now her, it's like they're multiples. The families, they just keep coming. You've got the Vesterholms, you've got the Hills, you got another Tomlinson playing. So they've watched all their sisters kick everybody butt after the last 4 years, and they just learned by watching them. So that's what they're doing this year too. And what's their only loss? Who'd they lose to? St. Ray's, right? They lost to St. Ray's. So, I mean, you got to play them. You got to be ready to face full court man-to-man pressure, transition, and they're just going to go for 32 minutes. So who has to play that? Oh, we might have to play them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe. See, that tells you how far I look ahead.
Well, looking ahead, we'll go to LaSalle Academy versus East Greenwich in our last matchup in the prelims here. LaSalle comes in this game on a 2-game winning streak, looking to continue that streak into the playoffs. And they're going against East Greenwich. What are your thoughts against them playing against East Greenwich?
So listen, right? East Greenwich is another very scrappy physical game. I know they had played, I think they played earlier in the season in LaSalle. LaSalle had won the game. And I think, LaSalle's probably biggest concern is Alex Megatron, I call her. Okay. She's their point guard. She doesn't stop. She can shoot threes. She gets out in transition. So I'm sure that'll be LaSalle's focus. And what I'll say about LaSalle, Lee's done a real good job this year. They're 5-4, and everyone's they're 5-4. Well, let's take a step back here, and let's remember something. Okay, they started the season by losing their point guard, Mackenzie Grover. For 4 or 5 games. You ask how many teams would do well losing their point guard for 4 or 5 games, right? She's back now. They had a great non-league win against St. Andrews the other day, and they beat Wheeler. So and they had a tough game against Portsmouth the other night. So they're playing well. They're playing well right now as well. So I think it'll be a good game, and LaSalle's going to have to stop the Megatron if they want to win.
And now one of these teams go on to face you. I mean, just tell us a little bit about your team. Don't give us too much, but what's about your team and having a potential matchup against any of these teams?
I think one of the things that I love about my team is, we're very young, okay, and we're young, but at the same time we play mature. We're still making some of those freshman mistakes and sophomore mistakes, but the best thing about them is that they just work hard and they listen. And we've gotten better every game. And, I think our focus has been all season, not 2-0, 3-0, 5-0, 9-0. It's been, okay, let's take care of ourselves. Let's be safe. Okay. Let's learn our own plays before we figure out what the other team is doing. And let's be thankful every time we can compete under these circumstances. And we're going to continue that as we head into the playoffs. I'll be happy if we can get to Monday night and play either LaSalle or East Greenwich, and then we'll kind of go from there.
That's great. That's great. Well, Coach, this has been awesome. What a great show. Lucky to have you on. Great insights. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you being on here. It's
So
been
Jeff, I want to say one other thing. This is only the second podcast I've ever been on. Okay. The first podcast was my buddy Pat Sullivan. I don't know if you know him. He used to coach Barrington 5-6 years ago. He brought him the D1 title. No, actually, that was a state championship against LaSalle. Simonelli was coaching at LaSalle. Two of them went at it. It was a very close game. But when he got out of coaching, he started up his own podcast down in his basement, right? And so that was my first podcast. So I want to thank Pat for prepping me to come on to your podcast tonight. So shout out to him as well.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Coach Sullivan, for that one. For getting Coach Lenz ready for this one. I appreciate you, Coach Lenz. This was awesome. You did great job, great insights. Really helped out, like with everyone getting us, preparation for the Credit Union Basketball Championships and what we're going to see on the girls bracket. This will be a lot of fun. Very excited for the playoffs, and I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Good luck to you and your team as well in the playoffs.
Thanks, and I just want to congratulate all the teams that are in the playoffs, and even those who aren't. On we've had a relatively successful season this year, and I think that's the part of like the responsibility of the players, of the coach, to be safe and to take things seriously, and I think we've all done that, and so I'm very proud of the girls' side of things this year, and I'm very excited to see the playoffs, and let's cross our fingers that we get all those games in on both the girls and the boys' side. And I also want to give a quick shout out to our boys' team. They're taking on Narragansett, I think, tomorrow night. So good luck to them.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate it. Good luck to you guys as well. And like you said, everyone, thank you for being safe and for everyone's cooperation this year and making the season work. You guys did a great job, and I appreciate you, Coach. And Coach, we got to get you on again. We got to talk about your career. Now you got started. We'll do that next time.
We'll love it. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Anytime, Coach. Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right, now joining me for the boys basketball side of the Credit Union Championship playoff preview is Ramon De Los Santos. He's always my co-host for the weekend shows, and always a great insight for the boys basketball. Ramon, how are you doing? How excited are you for these tournaments?
Doing really good. I know we've been talking all year about, imagine if this team gets to play that team, now we get to see who actually gets to play who. So it'll be really good not to dive into these, and just looking forward to all of it starting.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be very exciting. As you know, before we even, got after our Sunday show, actually on that Monday, we got some information that the playoffs got expanded to a 12-team playoff format. I mean, what are your thoughts on that expansion and like everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some you can fall on either two sides of the coins, right? So some people are like, great, more basketball, more teams that get to play, more seniors that get to go to the playoffs the last year, even though they had such a tough year with COVID this year. Other people look at it as, wow, we're adding more teams now last minute, kind of reduces the value of a playoff bid, and then also kind of makes teams kind of have to face teams that they weren't expecting to face. And it was all very last minute, but, this year has been a tough year. Can't really fault anyone. Just glad we're being able to play basketball. And for me, the more games, the better.
That's same. I'm right there with you. I think the more games, the better. When there's always more basketball, I'm always happy. All right, let's get into these. Let's get into the Credit Union Championship playoffs. Let's first start off with D3. So before we get into playoffs for D3, just a quick explanation of how the playoffs are set up for D3. The playoffs are set up for this by a best winning percentage for the league, for each league, which determines the seeding. So if you're one in North, South, Central, and South, so if you're ahead of your league, number one in North, Central, and South in that league, your winning percentage is basically on your seeding, where you get the 1, 2, or 3, and so on for each of the seedings. So our first matchup is number 8 Central Falls versus number 9 Scituate. Last time these two played each other, Central Falls got the best of them by 2, and Warren Galva led the way for Central Falls with 60 points. And Scituate so far in the month of February has been 0-5. What are your thoughts on this game and this matchup?
Yeah, so like you said, Scituate started off strong, got all the way to the point where they were ranked in the top 5 for Division III in the power rankings. Central Falls started late, so they kind of had opposite seasons, and then Central Falls has been able to come in late, get some key wins. Scituate has been losing lately, but they're definitely a talented team, so this would be a great matchup to see. A lot of Central Falls has a lot of talent, a lot of different kids who can play. They have, I think like an 8 to 9 man rotation. Scituate as well has some really good players. As we can see from the beginning of the year, they had some key wins. So now they got to kind of put it together, get a win over Central Falls.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup. I mean, the Central's got a late start, like you mentioned, and then them playing Scituate. It's gonna be a good matchup. Revenge tour, and then the winner of this one gets the next game, which is the number 1 Davies. Davies got the number 1 seed. What are your thoughts of the potential matchup of either or facing Davies?
Yeah, so whoever wins this game, that's only the beginning. You have to face Davies, and you have to deal with Raheem Rainey and the rest of that team. So for Central Falls and Scituate, obviously you just got to win and move on. But then facing Davies is going to be tough. Davies, I think, has a favorable matchup against either of these teams. Obviously they've been undefeated all year, but it'll be fun to watch, and either one. So whether it's Scituate versus Davies or Central Falls versus Davies, Central Falls and where Davies is located are probably closer, so it may be good to see kind of a little bit of a rivalry there. But it'll be good regardless who gets to face Davies.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens. Gets to play Davies, and we'll see if Raheem Rainey also continues his scoring streak of over 20 a game. But let's jump to our second matchup, which is the number 5 Blackstone Valley Prep versus number 12 Pontigansett. Blackstone Valley Prep is coming at this 5 seed. They have 2 very good players with Xavier Mendez, Jordan Mendez, and they're playing against a scrappy Pontigansett team that can really give anyone a hard time. They can shoot the ball very well. What are your thoughts on Blackstone Valley Prep playing Pontigansett and their next potential matchup against St. Pat's?
Yeah, so you brought up a great point. I think Pontigansett is a scrappy team, and then they can shoot it. So, the 3-pointer is the ultimate equalizer when it comes to basketball, and guys like Sal Bianca and the rest of that team, they can shoot it. So if they get hot, anything can happen. Blackstone Valley Prep's been playing probably some of the best basketball they've played all year. They actually beat times 2 to end their undefeated season, and then they beat Division II Rogers recently in a non-league game. So they're playing very well. They had their whole team ready to go. I think they play around 8 to 9 players from 1 to 9. They're all kids who are ready to go, ready to play. But it all kind of comes down to Xavier Mendez and Jordan Mendez. Those 2 guys together are a lot to handle. So looking forward to hopefully you wish both teams the best of luck. But honestly, looking forward to St. Patrick's versus BVP matchup. So it would be nice to see that 4-5 matchup. I think it'll be a great matchup between those 2 teams, 2 athletic teams, very talented teams. Will be really good to see that matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And that would be a rematch of last year's, I think, quarterfinals game or semifinals game.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And St. Pat's, this is the highest they've been seeded ever in the school history. So they're having a phenomenal year, and, being able to make it to the Final Four, maybe it's a championship game, and then ultimately winning it would be amazing, obviously, for any team, but for St. Patrick's, it would be great for their history.
Definitely. Now let's jump to our third matchup, which is number 6 Prout versus number 11 Exeter West Greenwich. Last time these 2 played each other, EWG got the best. Prout beating them by 14. But after that, Prout kind of found their way, and EWG kind of went the other way. What are your thoughts about this one? About this matchup? John Estes has been balling for them for Prout. So what do you think?
Yeah, so I think, like you said, last time EWG was able to pull off the win. But Prout is a different team now, I think. They've matured over this short season. And yeah, like you said, John Estes has just been balling. And honestly, I can't say it enough, college coaches, you should be looking at John Estes. That's somebody who can come in and help you right away. But nevertheless, Exeter was going to started kind of hotter than they've been lately. But there's, like I said, they're still a very talented team. So this will be a very good matchup. Sits 11, but I think it's closer than that. It sounds like it's not that close as 60 versus 11, but it's closer than that. It's going to be a good game. And then the winner of that gets West Warwick, right? So, yeah, it's at West Greenwich. If they get to face West Warwick again, that'll be great to see. And then Prout, get a shot at West Warwick again. So either way, I think it's going to be a great matchup. Whoever comes over to play West Warwick.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm like getting so pumped up. I feel like I'm in part of March Madness as we go through all these matchups. But all right, now let's go to our fourth prelim game for Division III and the last matchup here. Number 7 Moses Brown versus number 10 Mount St. Charles. In the last matchup, Moses Brown got the best of Mount St. Charles, but they won the game by 2 in a close battle. Moses Brown has won 2 games in a row. You think they can carry this momentum over Mount St. Charles? What are your thoughts about that?
So that was a very tough win by Moses Brown at Mount St. Charles. That last one by 2 points. I remember freshman Darius was able to make a floater to kind of ice the game with like 40 seconds left. So Moses Brown definitely has the talent. They've been playing very well. They're a little younger. They have some seniors, but they play everybody. Mount St. Charles has a very talented senior-led team. So I think in the playoffs, that comes in very handy. So it'll be good to see, and we all know Coach Coleman's a great coach, and he's going to have a lot of adjustments for this game. So it'll be great to see what happens now. Mount St. Charles is one of those teams that barely was out of the playoffs before the expansion. And then, so I'm sure he had, I don't know if he had year-end meetings with his players, and, there was a lot of crying by the scenes, and all of a sudden, oh, no, forget it. We're back in the playoffs. So, it's like getting a second opportunity, right? So hopefully they take advantage of it, and it would be a great matchup to see Moses Brown versus Mount St. Charles again, because like you said, the last one was a 2-point game. I can only imagine in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see what happens there. And the winner of this matchup gets the number 2 seed Times2, who's been, a really great team. They've been on the news recently. What are your thoughts on this Times Squared Academy, and what are your thoughts about whoever gets to face them next?
Yeah, the Times2 is having an amazing year, and they're in a position, where they're number 2 seed. And have a, quote unquote, easier field to get to the championship game. So they're trying to take advantage of that, but they're going to get a tough matchup right away because if either Moses Brown or Mount St. Charles comes over, a team like Mount St. Charles has size, has some senior teams. Moses Brown has a lot of talent and some shooters and kids who just, they can have a different person just show up, so it's hard to scout for them. So Times2 is going to have a tough matchup, day one. So, this whole bracket is going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when it comes out of this D3 because I feel like it's really up for grabs. These first matchups are they're really, really close. They're a lot of when you look at the scoreboard, review some of the scores, a lot of these teams who've already played each other and playing each other again, they were close scores. So anything can happen, I feel like. Yeah,
and then if you start looking ahead, what would happen depending on who wins to the Final Four, there's just so many amazing opportunities. And, even if the favorites just win, and you get to see, Davies versus St. Pat's, amazing game. West Warwick versus Times2, another amazing game. These are all games that, that are going to be great to see.
Yeah, very, very exciting. All right. Now let's, that's our Division III matchups. Now let's jump into the D2 playoffs. Here we have this for the explanation of how the D2 playoffs worked. The 1 and 2 seeds of both North and South get byes. And so the winner of the 4 North versus 5 South, for example, gets the winner of the 1 South and vice versa. And then same thing with the 3 North versus 6 South gets the winner of 2 South and vice versa. So these are the playoffs that are laid out. Let's get right into it because this is also going to be great matchups here again. So
I think one thing, we start thinking about 1 South versus 9 North third. We're gonna get confused. Let's look at the teams we're gonna play against each other. At this point, it doesn't matter if you're North or South. Here's a bracket because it can get very confusing.
Yes, it does. I'm stumbling over my words, so yeah, I'm glad that we could just eliminate that and get into it because it's just easier. Not that I don't always stumble over my words, so everyone that knows that. But let's get into it. We have number 4 Rogers versus number 5 Cranston West. Rogers starts the season late. They win 3 out of 4. They come up with some of their 3 losses. 3 out of the 4 losses come from top 3 teams in the South, and they have won 3 in a row. And Rashawn Fleming has been a beast for them. And Cranston West has kind of had a rough go at it lately. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so I think you hit it right on that. So Rogers has been playing very good. They have probably who would be the most talented player in this matchup, which is Rashawn Fleming. He's that good. And then Cranston West has had a very up and down season. And unfortunately, I mean, they've had some coaching turmoil towards the end of the season. So that's going to affect them, especially in the playoffs. You know, it's tough, you know, quick switch of coaching at the end of the year. It's going to be tough. So they're going to have to struggle with that. But nevertheless, Cranston West is a very talented team. Had them ranked, you know, top 5 in preseason power rankings, just because, you know, I expect them to be like, they have some very good players. So it'll be a great matchup. And Cranston West, if they play the way they normally play, very defensive minded, very scrappy. So Rogers is going to have their hands full. And I don't think there's a favorite in this game. They're both just very that close.
That's going to be a good, tough matchup. And whoever gets this one gets an even tougher matchup. They have to play Wheeler. You know, Wheeler dropped 1 game during the regular season. And congratulations to Travis Coben, who also recently just joined the 1,000 point club. What are your thoughts on the Wheeler possible Rogers Cranston West matchup?
Yeah, so like you said, congrats to Travis. Very big achievement as a junior to hit 1,000 points. Yeah. Right. I've known Travis for a while. We played 1-on-1 a couple of times. I've gotten a lot of buckets on him, but you know, I didn't get 1,000 points, so congrats to him. But yeah, whoever comes out of this game gets to play Wheeler. Wheeler very well coached as well. Sean Kelly's an amazing coach, and they're very disciplined, and they have a lot of talent aside from just Travis. So whether it's Cranston West or whether it's Rogers who gets to play them, you know, it's going to be a tough matchup because Wheeler, you know, they had that 1 loss against Johnston, but other than that, they've been, you know, spotless records. So it'll be good to see that matchup. Whoever gets to face Wheeler, it'll just be a good matchup.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun to see that one. Whoever comes out plays Wheeler. The next matchup will be Burgle versus Tolgate. Burgle has been a tough team all year long. They only lost 2 games on the regular season. Tolgate, you know, started off great and had a rough go about it here and there, and they had to win a critical game against Cherry Hill to actually get into the playoffs. What are your thoughts on this matchup, and which way could it go, do you think, or, you know?
Yeah, no, Burgle had a great record, had a great season. And for some reason, they still find a way to fly under the radar. So I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams. And that's a team that could be kind of a sleeper, Burgle. They're just very well coached, defensive minded, and they hold teams to lower than their average. And that's just a testament to kind of the coaching staff and the players as well. But Tolgate is a team, you know, that you said had to fight to get in. So they have kind of that momentum going. They weren't supposed to be in the playoffs. Now they are. And they have a really, really good player in Francisco Lopez, who's going to get his 20 to 25, and if he's on, could be 30. So, you know, it can change the game. So it'll be interesting to see Tolgate, what they can do. But Burrillville is a very tough team. So I guess that it leans a little more towards Burrillville, but in the playoffs, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Anything could happen in the playoffs. And then the next matchup, so whoever the winner of this game will go on to face Pilgrim. You know, you might have a possibly rival game if Tolgate wins, and then you have, you know, Burgleville. So what are your matches? What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, as soon as we talk about who they get next, you start thinking like, man, that sucks. You have to win this game, and then you have to face Pilgrim. Like, Pilgrim lost, you know, East Greenwich at the beginning of the year. I've said this all the time, and then just have been winning, you know, convincingly over and over again. Tyreek Reese continues to play amazing basketball. Peter K, like, we expect that from Tyreek. We know Peter K is good, but Peter K is playing above what I even expected for him. He's just, you know, I saw them play against St. George's, and he looked like he belonged out there, you know, against all those prep schools, all those prep school kids, future Division I talent. Like, he just can get to the basket wherever he wants, get to whatever spots he needs. He has a nice little step back mid-range shot. So that's going to be a very tough matchup if you have to face Pilgrim, because Pilgrim not only has those 2 players, and they have a bunch of shooters just waiting on the outside, you know, pass it out to Kenny Ritz, pass it out to Jared Reminder, and the ball's going in. So tough matchup against Pilgrim. So, you know, Pilgrim's looking like one of the favorites this year. So it'll be tough. If Tolgate has to face them again, you know, that didn't go well. And then if Burrow has to face them, it's going to be tough as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to whoever comes out. Like you said, you keep looking ahead and you're like, oh my God, like you got one tough matchup, you got to go to another one. And then let's go jump into the Portsmouth versus Lincoln matchup. Portsmouth is a team that also, they lost to, you know, some of the top teams in the D2 South, which is East Greenwich and Pilgrim. But they're a great team. They're led by Benny Hurd. You can get 20 anytime. And while, you know, Lincoln is led by Octavio, who can also get anywhere between 20 or 30. What are your thoughts on these 2 guys matching up and going against each other, and these 2 teams going against each other?
Yeah, this is a tough draw for Portsmouth. So Portsmouth, you know, it looks like the South region this year turned out to be like more top heavy than the North. So a team like Portsmouth, if they were, respect to all teams, but if Portsmouth was in the North, they might have had, top 2 seed and get that bye. Unfortunately, they have to face Lincoln, who had a tough loss at the end, and so then even dropped their seeding even more. But Lincoln is not a 6 seed. Like Lincoln is a better team than a 6 seed. So Portsmouth has a tough go against, not just Octavio, but some of the other guys on there. And then, but Portsmouth has Benny Hurt at the end of the day, has a lot of other good players, and then they can play. They lost a couple tough games to the top teams at the beginning, but since then they've just been beating teams left and right. So that's going to be a tough matchup for them, but Portsmouth has the time to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. And then the winner of this game gets obviously another tough matchup. You go against Tolman. I mean, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so Tolman, swept the what they call the Pawtucket series, right? So they beat the other Pawtucket teams, San Reyes and Shea. So they're on a high, and they've had a really good season. But again, like I said, that 3-6 matchup there is 2 really good teams. So Tolman has a tough draw. So, normally you would think that first round should be a little easier. No, not the case. If you get Portsmouth, you're getting a top 5 D2 team, top 10 team in the state. And then if you get Lincoln, you're getting a team that has the talent to be, a top 10 team in the state, just hasn't put it together, but they can put it together in the playoffs. So you never know. So Tolman better be ready. I'm sure they'll be watching, tuned in. But it's gonna be a tough matchup where they get.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be very interesting. Now let's go to the Johnston versus Coventry in this one. Johnston's been a hot team lately, coming into these playoffs, and Tom Zanek and Hunter Remington and Derek Salvatore all been playing really good ball for them. And then Coventry on the other hand, same thing. They have some great players, BJ Begonis, Jeff Rosa, Noah Morella, and Tyler Burns, who all can get double digits. I mean, what are your thoughts on this matchup? What do you think?
Yeah, so Coventry has been another team that's kind of flying under the radar, but they have some talent, like you mentioned. BJ Begones is a really good player, big boy who can also shoot it. So a lot of teams don't expect him to be able to shoot it, and you leave him open on the 3-point line, he can make it. So I've been telling him that for years. Let teams continue to think you can't shoot it, and he definitely can. But Johnston's been playing so good. They beat Wheeler, they beat Lincoln. They've been beating a lot of good teams lately. And Tom Sednick is just playing as good as advertised. To think he's a better football player than a basketball player is ridiculous, but he's that good. And then those guards and, Hunter Remington and Derek Salvatore, they've been getting it done. So I feel like Johnston leans more heavily against Johnston here. And then, the winner of that gets East Greenwich. So that's going to be interesting. The winner of that gets, undefeated team, number 1 seed overall. In East Greenwich. So that's going to be a very tough matchup. But, Johnston gets Johnston already beat one undefeated team before when they beat Wheeler when they were undefeated. So, hey, why not go for 2, right? But I think Jack McMullen and those guys will have a couple things to say about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, you get one team. We keep saying this. It seems to be you get one team, and then you just go right into a tough matchup. And East Greenwich is, as we all know, East Greenwich is undefeated this year so far. And hopefully, knock on wood, I don't put the jinx on them, and then hopefully they keep doing what they're doing, and it's gonna be interesting for sure.
It's just interesting to think, that these teams, a lot of these teams haven't played each other because they haven't had any cross league matchups, so you don't really know what to expect. So second seed in the South can mean what does that mean? Is that the equal as a second seed in the North? So it's like when you start doing these cross league matchups, anything goes, right? And they haven't played each other. I mean, I'm sure they have, some scouting. Everything was streamed this year, so they can go back to the tape. They can go look at the scorebooks. Coaching staffs are working hard as soon as these brackets came out, but you still got to play the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be good. I'm so pumped. I feel like this is like March Madness. It's like the March Madness before the March Madness, so it's exciting.
Honestly, since the high school basketball season started with all the streaming, I've watched close to zero college basketball. It's just so much high school basketball to watch. I make sure I tune in to check what PC is doing. I love Syracuse basketball. I look at them, but overall, I haven't. Before I would watch a lot more college basketball. This year's kind of like, I'm watching high school.
Yeah, same here. My bracket's gonna be a mess this year if I had to fill out a bracket for NCAA. Let's jump into Division 1, and Division 1 is the same thing as we mentioned for D2. It's the 1 and 2 seed. Of both North and South get buys. While the winner of 4 North versus 5 South gets the winner of 1 South, and vice versa, and the winner of 3 North gets the winner of 3 versus 3 North versus 6 South and gets the winner of 2 South. Jeez, I'm glad that we're not mentioning those anymore because it's driving us, and vice versa. So I'm having a hard time getting through that. So let's get right into it. We have Central, number 4 Central versus number 5 East Providence. East Providence lost a tough one to Barrington, which actually dropped them lower in the seeding to a 5. But they have a great team with Trey and Brian who can do some damage. And then Jaden Levent has been a great player for Central and can get double figures. What do you think of this matchup and what could happen here?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this one, especially seeing that point guard matchup between Jaden Levent and Trey Resendez. Jaden is a talented player, and he's the type of player that could get under your skin. So if you ever watch any of the Central games, whoever he's playing against, he's making sure, that they're bothered, that, he's always, little bumps, I love it. So it'll be good to see how the freshman can handle that. So how Trey can handle that. And Trey has been able to handle himself like that all year, but it'll be great to see that matchup. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But then, Brian Taylor is going to be tough to handle by anybody at Central. So it'll be great to see how that is. I mean, East Providence has played some games where they look like, one of the best teams in the state. And then there's other games where you're like, wow, they didn't really put it together. So it's just important to see, what team comes out for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting. And then the winner of this game goes on to face LaSalle. So what are your thoughts about this match, the potential matchups for either two against LaSalle?
So LaSalle, number 1 team in the state, number 1 team in Division I. It's going to be interesting. LaSalle's very good. So either one of these teams who gets LaSalle, they know they're going to have to face a team that plays really good defense, runs the ball a lot, and has 2 of the best, most talented players in the state, which is, Dimitri and Raf. So those 2 guys, who's going to play defense on them, and then, they turn defense into offense so quickly. So that's going to be a tough matchup. But, a team like Central could get hot at the right time, and the East Providence has the talent to beat anybody. So, if they have to face East Providence, it's not like they can say, oh, this is just first round, we can beat this team. No, you're playing, a team that, maybe has some areas where they underperform, so their record is lower than it should be, but they're a very talented team. So whoever, gets to play LaSalle is going to be a tough matchup.
And it's going to be very interesting to see either or go against that, LaSalle team that had a great season this year as well, too. Let's jump down to the 3 seed versus Cumberland versus number 6 seed Westerly. Westerly gets in because South Kingston had some COVID issues, I believe. That's what we were told. But Cumberland, this is going to be interesting. Cumberland has 3 dynamic scorers with Jackson Walsh, Cleo Fofana, and Colin Moraes, who is back. And then, those guys can do some serious damage. But Cumberland recently dropped a tough one against Woonsocket. And Wesley lost a tough one last night to Classical. They were winning most of the game, and then Classical came back and beat them. But Wesley is a young team. They're led by Jesse Samos, who's a freshman, and Ben Gorman, who's also a freshman, been getting a lot of good minutes. What are your thoughts on this matchup for Wesley against Cumberland?
So first of all, I also want to, congratulate South Kingston for making the playoffs. Obviously, you have to quarantine, so you're not able to play the games, but nevertheless, you're a playoff team, and you should be proud of that. For Westerly, I mean, like you said, last night they were playing Classical, and they were up the whole game. They were battling. They have a lot of talented players that make key buckets. And then I think I might have jinxed them. So they got up to like 30. They were up like 37-32 with like 3 minutes left. And I posted on the story like, oh, upset watch. Westerly's up 37-32, and then Classical ended up winning like 46-37. So Westerly didn't score again since I posted that. So I was like, oh. But they're a talented team. They're young, which hurts them in the playoffs. And then it also hurts them that Cumberland has Colin Moraes back. So like I mentioned, Colin's one of the most talented players in the state. He just wasn't able to play most of the year, but now he's back. In his first game back, he scores 32 points. So what he can do. And they already have a team that got a 3 seed pretty much without him throughout the year. So they're a very talented team, and now you infuse a little more talent. As long as there's no chemistry issues, they're gonna be a tough out in the playoffs. So I see this one kind of leaning a little more towards Cumberland, but you never know.
Yeah, and then the winner of this matchup gets Bishop Hendricken, who's the 2 seed. What are your thoughts about this the possible matchup for either or team to go against a tough Bishop of the Hendricken team?
Yeah, so Hendricken, perennial powerhouse. So we know what they can do. We know what they expect to do in the playoffs. Very deep team. They don't rely on one player to have a good game to win. So yeah, tough matchup for whoever gets there, because that's going to be a very, very tough matchup on a team that's used to winning in the playoffs. A lot of those guys, whether they're younger or whether they've kind of just been brought up in a system that's known for winning, So that comes in handy in the playoffs because you're expected to win. You feel like you know how to win. You feel like you're prepared to win. So that goes a long way. But it would be interesting to see a Cumberland Bishop Hendricken matchup because I think at that point, there's a lot of good players on both sides, but Colin might be the best player on the court. So if anything can happen. So who knows?
Yeah, that'd be awesome, I think, to see that matchup. All right. And then we'll jump to our next matchup, which is the other 3 and 6 matchup. We got North Kingston, who's the 3 seed, versus number 6 Smithfield. The last time these two teams, Smithfield got the best of North Kingston. They beat them by 11 points. And, Smithfield's a tough team. They're led by Jaden Saunders and Mike Tagliera, who also got a shout out from Coach Coach Mike Hart on Twitter the other day. And then North Kingston is led by Ethan Smith and Owen Moynihan. Both of those are great dynamic scores for them. I mean, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Can North Kingston get the revenge game? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think North Kingston's going to come in ready for this. So I think it's going to be a little different this time around. But Smithfield's had a really good season. I mean, they lost a lot of senior talent last year. Who knows what their expectations were? But, they've been able to have a wonderful season. And, players like Mike Tartaglia, like you mentioned, Riley Grant, Jaden Saunders have been playing really good. So, they're going to battle. But I think North Kingston is just they're clicking now. And they just have so much size. I feel like this time, they better put it to use because I think, this should be a game that they should be able to kind of pull off.
Yeah, be interesting. And the winner of this matchup gets Mount Pleasant in the next round. What are your thoughts of who goes against Mount Pleasant and Mount Pleasant himself?
Yeah, so as soon as we started kind of doing the playoff picture a couple of weeks ago, where we would just see like if the season ended today, it seems like it was destined for Mount Pleasant to play North Kingston in that second round, which would be an amazing game. Mount Pleasant so athletic, so good. But yeah, North Kingston is a little more, I feel like they're very disciplined, have the size, have the scores, and Owen can score, and then they have some shooters as well. So it'll be a great matchup to see those two. And if Smithfield sneaks in, then, Smithfield will get to play Mount Pleasant tough again. That'll be interesting to see as well. So.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting matchup. Whoever goes against Mount Pleasant. And then our final matchup and the D1 prelims is Barrington versus Narragansett. Barrington's had a great season. They're led by Matt Raffle, who's been an absolute, a beast this year for them. And, they look to continue to make their run in the postseason. But Gansett, on the other hand, they had some close games. They had a close one with Classical. What are your thoughts on these two going against each other?
Yeah, so Gansett is a tough matchup for anybody they had to face in this first round. Those kids I know we call a lot of teams scrappy, and, this team is very scrappy. So these kids have been playing together for a while, and they get after it. So for Barrington, it'll be interesting to see, can they match the grid? Can they match, all of the everything, all the banging down low and things like that. But, Matt Raff and company have been doing it all year. They've been playing good against a lot of good teams. So, they should be able to kind of do the same against Narragansett. It'll be an interesting match. I think this one's very too close to call. And it just depends, who can heat up for Narragansett because they play good defense, but I feel like a lot of times, they're relying on 1 or 2 plays to heat up. Because I think Matt Calabra is going to get his, and who's that second scorer who's going to heat up, and if we'll see who does it, and then Barrington, just continue doing what you're doing. I think Ethan Kotu had over 30 the other day against Rocky Hill. They beat a talented Rocky Hill team, so they have different players who can do it. And Matt Raff and Ethan been doing it all year, but they also have the big man Connor Sullivan who can step it up. Just feed him the ball more down low. Please feed him the ball more down low, but that'll be a very good matchup.
And then the winner of this matchup is they get Classical. So Narragansett could get Classical again, maybe get some revenge. And then, you have Barrington that can also play against Classical. What are your thoughts on Classical and going against a matchup either against Barrington or Narragansett?
Yeah, so I've been on record saying that I think Classical has the most talented starting 5 in the state. So they got to put that to use in the playoffs. So this is the time, obviously you try to get as many kids minutes as possible, but in the playoffs, play your best players. You need to win. So they have a couple guys off the bench, but the starting 5 is strong. So, if Gansett gets another chance at them, it's one thing. Would be interesting to see Barrington against Classical, though. I think they'll match up well against each other. It'll be a fun game to watch, high-scoring game.
Yeah, definitely. That's all our Division I, all our playoffs, actually. So of what we're going to see, it's very exciting, cool that we're on 12 games, and we'll see what happens next.
Yes. It's unfortunate there's no state tournament this year because, as we were talking about all these different teams, would have been interesting to start looking ahead and things like that. it's unfortunate, but I mean, at least, we're able to get a season in, get some playoffs in, and we'll be able to crown a champion, barring any setbacks. But I can't help to think about, what could have East Greenwich done against some of the D1 teams in the playoffs? So, what Division III team, how would they be stack up with a, Division II, Division III team if they had to meet them in the first round, second round? So sucks, but we got to be, I guess, thankful for what we have.
Yeah, definitely. And a shout out to everyone that, made the season work with everything, dealing with COVID and overcoming COVID. And like you mentioned, congratulations to South Kingston. It did make the playoffs. It's unfortunate that this pandemic is going on.
Definitely.